Okay, we're gonna get started. We talked about what right view is, that we need this right view as to how mind works. And right view is more than just trying to do an understanding of mind. It is what's called a gnosis. Gnosis is Gnosis. It is a feeling of what mind is. And it's this right view then directly experiences mind from its own perception. This is a different perception than from what we use in terms of an ego. This kind of a perception is a perception that is the mind's own perception. This mind's own perception is unobstructed, untainted by the idea of an ego. We confuse the ego as being mind, and that this ego needs to be cleared up. But it isn't in this way. The ego cannot be cleared because it in itself is also an illusion. So as this world is, so is the ego. This is the most difficult part for us to understand when we practice. But even beginners to listen to this, it is something that is a prerequisite of the true practice, is to understand that mind does not need ego. Ego needs mind to exist because the mind creates the ego. But the mind doesn't need the ego. It works perfectly well without the ego, without this fundamental ignorance. So as we begin to practice in this way, we can make faster progress than having the idea that there is an ego that has to be cleaned up and dressed up and taken off the streets and bathed and whatever. It isn't in this way. It is this direct experience of the reality, the knowing that all of this here is created by mind. This is a different outlook than the outlook of somebody thinking that the world is real and that we have to escape it. It isn't in this way. So this right view turns the mind's eye inward, and it's difficult because to try to express this in words is almost impossible. But nevertheless, we have to try to express this in words, that we see that this mind is ultimately pure. There's nothing that is tainted in the mind, nor is the mind sacred. If we say the mind is sacred, then that means it presupposes that there's something that is not sacred, that is profane. But it isn't in this way. This is most difficult for us to understand because we begin to practice in the idea of this duality of this unawakened mind and this awakened mind. But the awakening of mind is that there's no awakened mind or unawakened mind, it's just mind. Everything just returns back to it. It's not easy for us to understand that. But when we put that into daily practice, it changes our interactions with everyone around us. It changes our interactions with our friends, our family, our co-workers, even people that are serving us or that we're serving them. All of these interactions are done without the pretense of ego. Who is this person that I have to serve them, or that this server should serve me better? All these things that come up in our mind when we are using right view, they don't come up. And if they do come up, they don't linger long. And they don't have the same intensity that they had before. So this idea of right view is something that we can use every day. Every day that in every moment, we use right view. This is something that is very useful. So irregardless of whether we truly understand it or not, it changes the way that we have relations with people. So we don't have relations with people as to what can this person give me? What can I do with this? Or what, how this person can harm me, or why are they harming me, or whatever. We extend this uniform harmony and love towards people. And we are also good listeners. And we have an interest in them, just like a mother would have an interest in raising a child. We have an interest, and we teach people in accordance with their capacity to learn. Obviously, a mosquito is going to be hard to teach, and animals are not very conducive to this. But sometimes you can teach different realms in the Buddhist ideas. There's these 6 illusory realms, which from the God realm to Ashura, those humans, animals, ghosts, and hell dwellers. And they all have their different capacities or abilities or limitations in which to understand. Even the heaven dwellers, sometimes they don't practice because what they need to practice, everything is good to them. Every day is a day that they won the lotto. So there's not much interest to practice until their bodies begin to decay. And those with no form, the same thing, they don't have a body that's going to die. These are beyond the capacity of this particular lecture, to talk about in great detail. But we understand that all of these things, all of these places are created by the mind. As we begin to practice in this way, that's what really makes the practice. The practice is not just simply trying to have some kind of a book learning, but how we apply it in our daily life, how we're able to communicate with other sentient beings and to help them. For instance, if someone is vexed by a spirit, we don't try to banish the spirit or chase it out or say, be gone, evil spirit. We treat both the one that's being vexed by the spirit and the spirit itself, because the spirit is ignorant about this person. And so we attend to the spirit and the spirit's needs as well. So as we chant protections, mantras to protect the person, we also are chanting for the spirit, and so that the spirit will have less ignorance in their life and be able to live in harmony. So we don't try to kill the spirit or to do anything. We sometimes can deliver the spirits as well at the same time. Not bad. It's a different way of looking at things from the idea of love. And it's hard. Somebody was talking about their uneasiness with bugs and spiders, and it's difficult because there's sometimes we have to make difficult decisions. For instance, in California, there's a great time where they have black widows. And you guys have black widows here? You do? So black widows, they love California environment. They can grow really big, but you cannot have them in your habitat. So you have to make tough decisions about those as well. No, and I won't tell you, which way you should go. You follow your heart with it, but there's sometimes it's tough decisions, to do that. But you try the least destructive ways in handling these things that we call pests, which can present a danger and can kill us as well. No, I just read today because where I live is kind of on top of a canyon, and they say it's rattlesnake season. And so we have a lot of rattlesnakes. And so sometimes we have a lot of gophers too, but by the end of fall, there's no gophers left because the rattlesnakes take care of them. Somewhere, but in any case, we don't get a shovel and try to kill the rattlesnake. The rattlesnake wants to live too, and so we try to capture it and move it to different places. And in California, our Humane Society actually is very adept at capturing them and taking them other places. And some of these snakes can get beyond this length of this table. So they're not something that you can just, like, oh, I'm gonna grab it like that. So it takes skill. But we try our best not to harm any sentient being if at all possible. It's not easy, but we try our best. And by doing that, we are living in harmony with other sentient beings. All of this talks about the main product of wisdom. It is wisdom that we cultivate, but this wisdom, it's what it produces is some compassion. And you cannot talk about Chan without talking about compassion. This is something that moves from a conditional compassion of love for your family and love for others into a compassion that's unbridled or unlimited compassion, meaning that it can care for a mosquito or even a simple flyer that's flying around, that they have their own life. And so it's something that is something amazing, and some people, they naturally have it. Others, they have to cultivate it. My son, he naturally has a compassion, and he's one that, if there's worms on the pavement after a rain, he will take a stick and move them to the grass. And that requires great patience, especially if it's a heavy rain, then sudden rain, there's a lot of worms. But if they stay there, they will dry up very quickly in the summer sun. But the thing is that he is able and willing to have that kind of compassion. So we can talk about even the beginning Chan without talking about this compassion that we see that there is a suffering here, and we see how wondrous the mind is in terms of doing this. Once I was giving a lecture and was referring to the story about a person that was on the beach after a heavy storm, and they were grabbing crabs and throwing them back into the ocean at the beach. And there were thousands of crabs on the beach, and the person was tossing them back in, and a man came by and said, "You fool, why are you doing this? There's thousands of crabs, what does it matter? How can you even make a difference?" And then the person picked up a crab and threw it back in the ocean and said, "It mattered to that one." And that's the way that we look at things is that it matters. Even though we cannot throw all of them back, we can still make a vow to do that. We've got all the time in the world. We have Buddha time. So the Buddha time is there. It's inexhaustible. So we don't measure it just based on human time, but we measure it on the power of the vow to little by little change things. And it's very important. When I gave that lecture, the next week or at the end of the week, I would go surfing, and on the next Saturday, lo and behold, there was a person tossing crabs back into the ocean. And it gave me great joy, because what would be the odds of that? That, I haven't even seen crabs on the beach, much less having somebody toss them back in. But lo and behold, there was a person doing that. It was so incredibly amazing. It kind of defies the laws of probability when we see that. But it is just the mind, just revealing mind. It's something that's very amazing, very wondrous how we see things. So even if you're not very good sitting on a cushion, be good in your life. Be careful, mindful, be helpful. It doesn't cost you that much. No, again, this is something when we talk about what is our plan. When we have this as our plan, then we know what we're doing. We know what we should do with our life through body, speech, and mind. Every moment counts. Every breath counts. We make it in this way, how we practice. When we practice like this, then we're not too far from it. But if we think that we don't need to help others, this is so sad. Lately, I had somebody on my mind work forum, and they were saying, "Well, I don't like people. I only want to practice for myself." And I'm thinking to myself, is this a bodhisattva like plant that's in here testing everybody? No. And I wrote, why should I care about you if you don't care about me? But yet I care about you to respond to you and to shine the light of illumination on the person and their intolerance. Because obviously this person's mind is begging for guidance, for saying, what's wrong with the way I'm thinking? I need help. But they don't know completely why they're that way. So they're coming to a place of literally of sanctuary, of refuge, and saying that they don't want to help people, they just want to practice for themselves, and getting it completely wrong. So the karma with that, and the karma of them coming to this kind of a place, is very interesting. What could be wrong with them or vexing them? They could be troubled by a spirit that is trying to antagonize the people, or bait them into a counter argument of anger or impatience, rather than embracing them, which is what I did. Just simply embrace them and say, I will deliver. And to show them the other way. So it's interesting sometimes we do that. I eventually will pick this person up in a different lifetime. But sometimes you can pick them up in this lifetime and make a change. You'll be surprised how powerful the mind is when you really, really want to work it. I've had so many people that really didn't have a great understanding of compassion, then eventually having compassion. I had one person like that went to one of my retreats, and I was showing how to transfer merit. And lo and behold, that person's mother ended up in the hospital in a very serious condition. And they asked people to transfer merit to the mother, which everybody just literally was boasting and saying, I will transfer merit to your mother. I will transfer merit to your mother. All these people he didn't know were doing that to help him. And the end result of that is the mother got better, but the son got even more better. The son realized the true essence of Chan is this incredible compassion. And so he writes about now is about compassion and transferring merit. And he really got to the essence of the practice of helping others. I couldn't ask for a better result for the person. And so it is in this that in our daily practice that makes a difference. If we only practice for ourselves or our self-illumination, it's worthless. Don't even bother. No, this is not the practice. As we begin to practice, we understand that all that we read, the sutras, are just but tools for us to use to guide the way for others. So when we practice in this way, then this is the clear practice. This is what all the sutras talk about and ending towards this idea of compassion. This was the turning of the Dharma wheel from the Theravada practice into Mahayana, where the Theravada practice was concentrating on reaching nirvana, and those who became an arhat, saintly people, they could achieve nirvana. In Mahayana, it was seen as that we forego our own final awakening to deliver others. And then when this body is exhausted, we come back, not because we want to come back to this place, we miss it so much. In this world, if I didn't come back here, I would not miss the environment. I would miss the opportunity to deliver sentient beings. But this place is not really that great of a place to go to. If you think of like, where would you want to go? I want to go to a place that has disease and hatred and birth and death and suffering. No, it doesn't sound like the place you want to go. There's a Pure Land if you want to go to a Pure Land. Or you can convert this place to a Pure Land. So in the Mahayana practice, we have more of an interest in helping others. Why shouldn't we? Why is it something that the more that we cling to the idea of our own self-realization, the farther we are from the true practice. When we practice in the right way, we take care of each other. So for all of you here, and some of you more beginners than others, you have to take this with you, is this care of others. Now we're coming up on Mother's Day, and you have to understand, you see things in this way. I see you all as my children. It is in this way. I see you as having Buddha nature, and the interest in drawing out the Buddha nature in people is very, very important. This is how we practice. The term dhyana, which was converted to the term chan in Chinese, means practice. It doesn't mean an understanding in a way where there's that one can gain a complete understanding. The understanding is the awakening that just this mind is the Buddha mind. There is a bodhisattva, Pushen Pusa, or Samantabhadra. And what's unique in Samantabhadra is what this bodhisattva represents, which is practice, and a demonstration of Buddha mind via the practice of helping others and a sincere practice of, uh, of exploration of what mind is. This is very important for us to understand this. So it's not simply that one clings to a worldly wisdom. The true wisdom, the sincere wisdom, leads us to compassion. A worldly wisdom just leads to a PhD in Buddhist study. But a true practitioner is somebody that demonstrates it, and the term that's constant refrain in the sutras and the treatises is body, speech, and mind. Via body, speech, and mind, what we say, what we do, and what we think is the practice. Moment to moment, it is that which we choose to follow the Buddha path. What is the Buddha path? Whatever is presenting itself in that moment, we follow it. One master said is that to accord with others in harmony is the practice. So if we're always getting in fights with people, that's not the practice. If we are truly concerned to them and trying to bridge the gap between them, then that is the practice. To understand that originally there's no gap whatsoever between us, there's even a higher practice. And then ultimately that just this mind is the Buddha mind is even a higher practice that we do. And this is an idea that we begin to explore this. And so I invite you to constantly be exploring what mind is, to see what is the true mind. This exploration is done by contemplating, not by thinking about it, but just simply taking the time to rest the mind, to let it manifest. It's there already. It's not that it's being created. It is simply now coming to the surface after being hidden by so many obstructions. When it comes to the surface, then that inner power that you have becomes now the power that determines what you do next in thinking, doing, or speaking. When we begin to understand what is our function, then we begin to understand this body, this mind. Who does it serve? This is kind of like what this gentleman was asking about before, about what the practice was, but it is, who does it serve? It serves mind. Because no matter what, all essential sentient beings, they are of mind. And when we understand this, we serve mind. How do we serve mind? By taking away the bad dreams, taking away the suffering. Not bad. So we understand that all this world is a manifestation, like a dream. But this dream, the only good part is joy, but the joy doesn't last. It's a duality. So soon when suffering comes, that is compared to the joy we had before. What do you think? If a person that was rich all their life then suddenly becomes poor and is on the street, will they suffer more than the one that was on the street before? Because they were clinging to the idea of this joy of being so wealthy and to be able to buy whatever they wanted to buy. Can you imagine when somebody is so rich, they don't even have to think about anything. They could just simply like be in rich man heaven. Oh, I think I'll buy a Ferrari tomorrow. or I'll buy a villa by the ocean. No, or I'll jet to Europe for breakfast or whatever it is in my own private jet. No, is that happiness? Take away all the stuff. Sometimes you look at the rich people, they don't look happy. When you see them, they're always frowning. No, they always have their own problems. They always have a target on their back. Is that truly peace? Once I was at a retreat and I announced to people, I'm the richest man in the world. Truly, I'm rich. And it is because the richness doesn't come from monetary wealth, but it comes from the understanding that there's a liberation there. And this liberation enables me to share it with others. It's not bad. It's not bad. How do you define wealth when we have a liberation of this way? In the sutras, they talk about in the Diamond Sutra, it says the Buddha was talking to Subhuti and say, so suppose Subhuti, if you are there were the sands of the Ganges River, and as many sands of the Ganges River are also Ganges rivers, and collectively all the sand grains were treasure chests given to the poor. Would that merit be great? And he said, well, yes, world honored one, that would be a great merit. And he says, not as much as reading, understanding, and teaching others just simply one verse of this sutra to others. It doesn't compare. And again, this is the Diamond Sutra. And you go, what does that mean? What does that mean? How could that possibly be? Because no matter what, if you give all these treasure chests to the poor, now you have people that were poor that are now rich. Everybody's rich, but they still die. They still suffer. They still get sick. They get old, pass away. But if you could take one person and liberate them, this is more valuable. Because the others are just simply dream bodies. But alleviating some of the suffering of that, that's a greater treasure. It's not easy to do that. And the first time I read the Diamond Sutra, I was thinking, what the Taiwanese, they have a way of describing called blowing the cow, meaning that you make it bigger than it really is and blow it up like the size of a cow. But it isn't in that way. It truly is. But it took me many years to truly penetrate the sincerity of that and to understand the value of that, to say that when you give that, it's great. So all of these jewels and riches, they're for you. Take as much as you want. That's what I learned from Master Shen Yang. I saw him every time he taught. He would put jewels in front of him, say, take them, take them. There's a Mani Pearl. I suggest you take the Mani Pearl. It's a wish-fulfilling gem. If you had a wish-fulfilling gem, what would you wish for? What do you think? What would you wish for?
Happiness for people around me.
For what?
Happiness for people around me.
Happiness. Okay. Anybody else? What would you wish for? Yes.
Health for everyone.
Say it louder.
Good health for everyone.
Good.
Health.
Good health. For how many years? So let me test one of my senior students. Will. Oh God. I wish you wouldn't have called me.
Complete disappearance.
In this moment?
In every moment.
Who are you pointing to? Yes, go ahead.
Peaceful mind.
Peaceful mind. Your mind?
Yes, everybody's mind.
Everybody's. Okay, that's a little better. Anybody else? What would you wish for? Yeah, one wish. There was a story. The person said, "You have one wish," and I wish I knew what to wish. Wisdom. And he said, "Well," he said, "and by the way, you already used up your wish." So you have to wish with wisdom. So next time if they get a chance to wish, they'll already know that you have to use wisdom as to what to wish for. It's a wish fulfilling, Jim, my goodness. You could ask for anything. In the old days, they'd say, "I want $1 million." Now $1 million will buy you like McDonald's, Big Mac and a fry and a large drink. Not worth much, right? But what would you wish for? You wish? Yes, go ahead.
All sentient beings being delivered.
All sentient beings be delivered. So this is the great wish, the vow of a bodhisattva. The wish fulfilling gem has nothing to do with you. You don't need like all of this wealth, and so you don't need wealth. You can't take it with you. So we wish for the delivery of all sentient beings. This is a great wish. This is the Monte Pearl. You don't want to mess it up and say, I wish for a beautiful wife or husband. If they're too beautiful, somebody else will take them. So what with that? Or you'll be worried about somebody else taking them. But we use wisdom to do it. Wisdom then gives us compassion to see things. So what I'm telling you now is giving you a little bit of the owner's manual that you didn't get when you came in. The only thing you wanted when you came in was air, right? You never breathed. You didn't breathe before, so you had to learn how to breathe. And then all of a sudden you realized you needed something to eat. You were hungry and warmth. You came in without any clothes. Of course, it's natural you're going to be cold. And all these things, they just create the idea of a sentient being. And when you get all those, you go, "Oh, this feels so good. Oh, I never tasted milk before. This is pretty good stuff." And the warmth of my mother's body feels so good. And then now you're hooked on samsara, like crack cocaine. Hooked on breathing, hooked on all these things. And that's just the start. In your first day, you're already, reaching and grasping and attaching. Already complaining. So we see things as they are. We see things differently. This right view. So when you understand that, then it helps you to see the world as it is, not as what you are trying to make it a better place, a better dream. First of all, is there any questions? What I'm talking about? No questions? Okay. Whatever. Okay. Now, what I've been trying to do with you is give you kind of an overall of what the practice is. Not going in and not going too deep into Buddha Dharma, because it may cause you confusions. But what I wanted to really express this time is this idea of this great compassion. This great compassion is actually what all of the wisdom sutras, starting from some of the early ones like the Asta Sutra, which is the Sutra of 8,000 lines of Buddhism, of this cultivation of wisdom. The cultivation of wisdom is an interesting thing, because there's worldly wisdom, and then there's this wisdom, this great wisdom, and what they call Mahaprajna Paramita. So Mahaprajna Paramita is this highest or unexcelled wisdom. If you've read the Heart Sutra, they'll refer to it there and say, this is the unexcelled wisdom. And again, the wisdom is learning that everything is created by the mind. It's learning how things come into being, why they come into being, and being mindful of karma, in spite of the fact that understanding that karma only applies to the samsaric world. Samsaric world is this world that we're in right now. So if we do something here, we create a karma. But outside of this world, there is no such thing as karma, because everything is mind. So the karma only applies to the illusionary world that we're in. It's not easy for us to separate ourselves from this, nor do we need to separate ourselves from it. We don't have to say that this exists or it doesn't exist. We just simply have to let the mind accord with the present moment, and understand that this world is an illusion, but it's real to the extent that it is a projection in mind created by mind. This is not easy for us to grasp that, but we have to contemplate it. And when we contemplate it, then we see that there is a way out. The way out is not that suffering exists, but that there is no suffering. There is no cause of suffering, because ultimately we see that the mind is what creates everything. But the difficulty for us is that we do not understand that originally, before the samsaric world, the mind was in a perfect state of equanimity and equipoise, and it still is. Why is it still? Because this world itself has no substance to it. It's a dream. And being a dream, that's why the Diamond Sutra talks about it as being a bubble in a stream. But we go, oh, this table's real. This microphone's real. This body is real. So it's self-proving all the time. And so it doesn't work in this way, because it's self-proving. If you ask the self, do you exist? Of course I exist. I'm here. I'm Gilbert. I'm speaking. Don't interrupt me. I'm speaking to this crowd here. You know, they're paying attention to, oh, it isn't in this way. That's self-proving. When you take a step back, then you see everything as it is. When we say you take a step back, it is not you, but mind that takes the step back. So when it takes a step back from everything, it's like this. It's kind of interesting. Just imagine Gilbert's still talking right here. And then mind steps back and takes a look. There's Gilbert talking right there. And it's seeing things. Everything is appearing in accordance with causes and conditions. It can walk around. You can look and say, what, you're fidgeting. I know, your legs must be sore. Your bottom's getting sore because you're lifting your legs up. Now you're making, and it's looking at all things around them and is aware of it simultaneously. The break, I'll hand out some painkillers to you. Right now, I'm giving you the big pain medicine. You want to take the pain medicine, I'll be here. You open your mouth and say, I don't exist. I don't exist. I don't suffer. And it's looking at the room in this way. It sees things differently. It's taken a step back and it's looking at it. And we may think, oh, this world appears to split into two. It isn't in that way. It is just simply that which stepped back was not Gilbert. That which stepped back is the knowing mind. So this knowing mind is not separate from that which is being projected. You are all here in this room, and you're here, but you're not really here, because if I looked around and saw you, you would just be a projection. This is a good TV monitor, because it sees things not just in 2-dimension, but 3-dimension. But nevertheless, it's a projection. You, if you don't believe me, we'll change the channel in about 2 hours or so, and none of you are going to be here. The screen will be here, but you won't be there. You'll be projecting yourself somewhere else, now appearing at dinner, or now appearing driving your car. We don't see things in this way. We are in some reality TV show. The reality TV shows are like following somebody around that's like used to be important, but not important anymore. Used to be on a sitcom TV show or whatever, and they're following them around. Or used to be a rock star like Ozzy Osbourne, and they follow them around their life, and the camera follows them, right? And that's the way you are. You're being, you perceive yourself to be this continuous program, the Gilbert Show, follow them all around. But it isn't in that way. I'm giving you an opportunity to take a look at something very interesting, which is that all of this and all of you are projections. The part that's very mysterious about this is that while you're all projections, you nevertheless have a Buddha nature. But we take the Buddha nature to be our physical body. And that's where we make the mistake. Because when we take the Buddha nature to be our physical body, then because of our ignorance, we follow the body. And then when we die, if we love our body so much, where do we end up at? The cemetery. You're there sitting on your tombstone. What the hell happened? Well, I guess being a ghost is better than being in hell. And there you sit. Due to your ignorance, you become a ghost from your self-love and self-conceit, self-centeredness. You missed it. You missed the Buddha bus. It left before you. Now you're just stuck here. or you come back. No, and you come back as an animal or a hell dweller. Boy, did I miss the bus? You know, whatever got you into hell, right? Or you end up in heaven. You know, you punched your lotto ticket, but you think that heaven is infinite, but it's not. You'll still be, you know, in a different realm. We miss this because we follow the body wherever we go. We don't follow the heart. This Buddha nature we have, follow the heart. We use this body. I see this body here, you know, and I'm aware of this body. The smell. What's it smell like? It smells like an old body. It's not the end of the world, but I can see it from here. And we see things as this way. So what do I want to do? Do I want to invest in this body? No. How far can it take me? No. Maybe I'm like an old Mercedes. No, it goes for a long time. Nevertheless, it'll still give up its ghost at some point. Or we can invest in just Buddha mind. We can invest in not things that cause suffering, but liberation that can turn you into the richest person. But the richest person doesn't cling to wealth. They give it. This is a true rich person that can give and give and give that which matters, not material possessions. The sutras always talk about, in the wisdom, it is that one has no possessions. Not bad. You know, even John Lennon's lyrics of the Imagine, and he's saying, imagine there's no possessions, no heaven, no hell. So when we have no possessions, there's no riches that are not ours. Because we truly understand what wealth is. We truly understand that there's an incredible liberation. You can't buy it with money, no matter how many treasure chests you have, you can't buy it. Rich people go, oh, you liberation? How much they cost? I'll buy one of those. They can't do it. But by studying, listening to well-known advisors and practicing, it is yours for free. Not bad, right? What do I have to give up? I have to give up your position. I don't want to do that. You can do it. You have to give up your ego. You got to be kidding me. I'm not going to give up my ego. Why would I give up my ego? Where would I go? What would I do without my ego? This is inverted view. This is what keeps bringing you back to this lifetime. So what I'm giving you is a very novel approach as to what is charm, of what is the practice. Is by letting you see from both sides, from the side of the absolute and the side of samsara, these six realms, and for you to make a choice as to what you want to practice or pursue. You want to hold possessions, or do you want to liberate others? And in this liberation of others, you also are liberated. This is what's important. There was in the Vilamakruti Sutra, very important sutra, because this sutra talks about the, this one layperson, now layperson, it's not a disciple of the Buddha, but a layperson that's well practiced. That's pretty good. And, the wonderful thing about Mahayana Sutras, it starts bringing up proponents that are not old Theravada males. So they always talk about the honorable old Sariputta in Theravada. And the Mahayanas hold them up and call them old, and then they present the youthful Manjusri. Because it was a turning of the Dharma wheel showing that, hey, this is what the practice is that this Manjusri, he has an interest in alleviating the suffering of others by advancing this wisdom. So when we see things in this way, it changes the way that we look at the world. We understand it more. And so it is this that we practice, and we understand how to proceed. I'm gonna stop there because I've given you a lot of a little bit of Dharma theory, even though it's on a generalized way. I want you to take a rest for a moment and take a break, and we'll return back, okay?